Alright, so now we're going to look at, instead of using numbers, what happens if we use strings. And also with the numbers, if we had to use anything else like characters or anything like that, it would still all be the same. Just instead of using an int here, we'd use a char. But now I just want to look at strings. So strings are slightly different with conditionals, because what happens when we create strings, now I know when we spoke about primitives just now, I did mention the fact that strings are primitive. They're not truly a primitive type, but within Java they basically become a primitive, although you'll notice that it starts with a capital, not with a lowercase for the keyword, and that's how we know then, okay, strings aren't actually a primitive, but we can use them as primitives. Where we can see that they are primitive, or where they act like a primitive, is if we make two strings that say the same thing. So if this says same, and string 2 also says the same, we can then use a conditional if to see is s1 equal to s2. Right, and then we're going to do print out that says yes, they are the same. Right, so if we run this, we'll see then it does say yes. Now this is only a effect of how we've done everything here. Basically what this does is it checks the objects. Strings are technically not the same object, so if we had to do this and define them as separate objects, so string same and new string, we'll see now, let's do just put an else here that says no. Right, so if we run that, we'll see it says no. By putting this in there, that means we're now defining each one as its own object. Strings are technically their own objects. They go into a string pool, which is a bunch of objects with strings. So to make sure that this works, instead of using the equals, we use something that's a little bit more reliable, which is dot equals. So then we're saying, it's basically the same thing as just putting equals equals, just this is specifically for strings, and we can see that if we run this, it's then going to say yes, meaning that they are the same word. So it does a lexicographical check, basically just checks are the same letters in either side. And so yeah, that gives us the yes.